What's up, self-healers? Lisa Lightfeather here. Welcome to my channel, Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. Thank you to all of my subscribers. You're greatly appreciated. And if you're new here and you like my content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the bell notification so that you know when I upload. We are continuing today with our Chiron Through the Houses series. And we are on the 8th house, or having Chiron in the 8th house, or having Chiron in Scorpio. Yeah? So this is a very powerful placement. It's one of the hardest placements to have Chiron at. And so let's talk a little about Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, but in traditional or earlier astrology, Scorpio was ruled by Mars. But we're looking at Scorpio as being ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the planet of life, death, rebirth, and transformation. So is Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of life, death, rebirth, and transformation. These people tend to transform like a phoenix rising from the fire over and over and over and over again. They become a master at transformation. Scorpio is a water sign that is the deepest parts of the water. So say that Cancer is the top of the water, right? Cancer is the flow of the water. Pisces is the middle of the ocean, just deep and dreamy and just floating. But Scorpio is the murky parts, the dark, deep, murky parts of the water. Yeah. Scorpios have very deep emotions. They're very passionate people. They're very transformative people, as I once stated. They have a really deep psychic abilities. These people are steady people. They're consistent because Scorpio is a fixed sign. They're very determined when they have their mind set on something or someone. They're very determined people. They can be a bit stubborn. They can be a bit controlling. Scorpio is very loyal and dedicated, but they keep their circle very small. They're not very trusting people. So if they trust you, if a Scorpio trusts you, that means something, yes? They can have issues such as controlling issues or jealousy issues. And once that kicks in, it's hard to divert Scorpio from that type of vision. But if they love you with all of themselves. They love you with every part of their being. They can become obsessive if they love you, yes? So you have to be ready for the love of a Scorpio, because it can be very passionate, intense, deep, obsessive, controlling. It can be that dark, mysterious kind of love, yeah? Scorpios are very passionate. Yes, if you've ever been intimate with the Scorpio, you never forget it, because it is just like, boom, takes over your entire being. You got to be ready. Okay, and so, but Scorpios have a reputation of being very sexual beings, but it's not always true, because Scorpio is very particular about who they are intimate with. And so although they are deeply passionate, they're not deeply passionate with everyone. Because remember, Scorpio doesn't trust easily. So, and they keep their circle small. So if you're inviting into Scorpio's circle, or you're inviting into Scorpio's bedroom, consider yourself privileged, because they don't allow everyone in there. But you got to be ready for Scorpio, because Scorpio is just like, they can just engulf you, you know? And so they're very mysterious people, and they're very private. And so if you're ever intimate with the Scorpio, that's not something you should go talk about, because Scorpios are very private about their every aspect of their life. They're very private. Scorpios will know everything about you. They will ask you questions, every little detail about you. Who are you? Where are you from? What are your parents like? What do you do for a living? You know, they'll ask you every single question, but they will divert the conversation if the questions get returned back to them, because they are very private people. And so, but the selective people that they do allow into their circle, they are very loyal to and can be loyal to for a lifetime. However, if Scorpio feels betrayed in any way, form, or fashion, whether it's real or imagined, it doesn't matter. If Scorpio feels betrayed, then you are automatically the enemy forever. Yeah. And Scorpio will wait years, decades to get you back. Scorpio is a very interesting, intriguing zodiac sign, yes? So let's talk a little about, if you can't tell, they're one of my favorites. Let's talk a little about the eighth house. So what is the eighth house? The eighth house is the eighth house within the astrological wheel. It rules the occult. Yes, the occult. So tarot card reading, metaphysics, anything mysterious, psychic abilities. It rules life. It rules death. It rules rebirth, and it rules transformation. And so this is the house of transformation. It rules inheritances. And so someone with a lot of Scorpio placements can receive a big inheritance, or certain planets transiting the house of Scorpio, they can receive a big inheritance during that time. It rules large chunks of money, like say income tax, or like I said, inheritance, or all of a sudden the government approves you for a big loan, or the government approves you for a credit card with like an extended amount on it, unlimited amount of money. It can rule like winning the lottery and stuff like that. So it's these big lump sums of money that come suddenly, yeah. But it can also rule losing big chunks of money suddenly, yes. And so Scorpio rules other people's money. So it could be your significant other's money, or it could be family members' money, or it could be the government's money. But it rules other people's money. And when you have a lot of placements in this house, you can receive other people's money, yeah. So it also rules sexuality and intimacy, yeah? And so power, control, it can rules gifts, like I said, the occult. So people with a lot of eighth house placements can have psychic gifts. But because Scorpio rules death, it can be psychic gifts about speaking to the other side, people who have already transitioned over, yeah? And they can have gifts such as remote viewing or speaking to the dead. Yeah. And so a lot of times this can scare people, right? And so speaking of scare, let's talk about the pain body of having Chiron in the eighth house. Can you imagine? So the pain body, people who have Chiron in the eighth house may have experienced death at a very young age. Yes. And there wasn't a support system there. They may have experienced the death of a pet, the death of a brother or a sister, the death of a cousin. They may have experienced the death of someone at a very young age, and there wasn't a lot of support there. Maybe the parents didn't know how to support the child when their pet died, or someone close to them died, because they themselves didn't really know how to deal with death. Maybe their parents, people with Chiron in the eighth, a lot of times the parents just aren't there. They aren't there to protect the child. They aren't there to comfort the child. The child goes through tremendous trauma with Chiron in the eighth. The child may have lost the pet and had to cry and bury the pet by themselves, you know. The Chiron in the eighth is also an indication, trigger warning. So if I don't want to trigger anyone, but it has to do with Chiron in the eighth has to do with a child who may have been molested or sexually assaulted at a very, very, very young age. And sometimes so young that the child can't even remember it. But this placement, the child will go through life, death, rebirth, and transformation over and over again. And it'll have similar types of energy, like may have been something happens as a teenager, something happens as a young girl, something happens as a preteen, something happens as a baby, something happens as an adult when it comes to them being violated, their personal space, their I am, their body being violated by someone else. Yes. Someone with Chiron in the eighth may have shame and guilt surrounding sexual energy or sexual or intimacy, because they've been violated so much in this area that they don't feel safe in intimate settings. Yes. And so They may repress their sexual energy, and they just don't enjoy that part of their life, because there's been so much trauma there. They may question their spiritual gifts. They may be able to, they may be very psychic, and they may repress that, or they may not trust their own intuition, because they've been in so many situations where that trust has been violated, that they don't trust themselves anymore. So they don't trust their psychic abilities. But these people are very, very psychic. They can also do things like speak to the dead, and that may scare them. And so they may hear things from the other side, and they walk in a spirit of fear because they fear these gifts. They don't acknowledge them as gifts. And so therefore they walk in a state of fear. They may fear death because they don't understand the concept of transformation. They don't understand that life, death, rebirth, and transformation, it doesn't necessarily mean literally, but right now I'm speaking literally. They fear death because they don't quite get it, that death is not the end. That it's like you're in one car and you're driving along, then all of a sudden you get out of that car and you're in another car. That's what death is. Life just, it goes on. You just go on in different dimensions. But they fear that type of thinking, that type of concept, because death fears them. I mean, they're afraid of death. Although they go through tremendous metaphorical death all the time. Life, death, rebirth, and transformation. These people are constantly transforming themselves. You'll see them one minute, and then you'll see them a couple of years later or a year later. They'll look completely different because they're constantly transforming themselves, like the phoenix in the fire. Yeah. They just go into the ashes and they come back up again. And when they come back up again, there's something completely different. Yeah. These people are amazing, actually. They just have to go through so much to get there. So fear of intimacy is part of their pain body. So how can someone with Chiron in the 8th house or Chiron in Scorpio heal themselves? Yeah. So they can reclaim their power. Yeah, they can reclaim their sexual power. They can use things such as learning how to love oneself. Yeah, feeling comfortable in one's own body, feeling comfortable and safe in one's own body. They can, when they meet with their mates, they too are very particular about who they connect with. Their intimate circle is very small as well. And so the person that they're with needs to feel safe. The person that they're with needs to feel like they are someone who's not going to harm them. So they need to seek partners who are safe. Yes. And they need to seek partners who are safe. Yes. And that understand intimacy. Yeah. Now, and someone that can respect their boundaries. And so people with Chiron in the 8th house need to set solid boundaries. That's part of healing yourself. Yeah. Setting solid boundaries. Trusting your own intuition, listening to your gut, listening to your first instinct is you have two brains. You have the stomach, you have three brains: the stomach, the heart, and the brain that resides in the head. Trusting your first brain, which is in the stomach. If it feels wrong, then it's wrong. If it feels unsafe, then it's unsafe. Not living in a space of fear, practicing not living in a space of fear. Another way that Chiron in the 8th house or Chiron in Scorpio can heal themselves is by catching themselves when they're thinking worst case scenario, because these people naturally go to the worst case scenario. They've been through so much that their brain naturally automatically goes to worst case scenario. But one way you can heal yourself is asking yourself, how many times has it actually been the worst case scenario that you had in your head? Yeah. Now, these people have had to go through a lot of trauma. And so their worst case scenario, or their fear that other people aren't trustworthy, is legit. It is something that is it's worthy to be acknowledged by them, because they've been through so much. And so they're not just overreacting. It's like something that they've seen with their own eyes. So they know that this thing can happen. But we're speaking about how to heal this. It's just trust your instincts. Don't jump to worst case scenario, because when you trust your instincts, you don't have to worry about worst case scenario. And how many times have you jumped to worst case scenario and then it turned out to be just fine? Yeah. And so we don't want to live in a state of fear and reacting to something that hasn't even happened yet. Correct? People with Chiron in the eighth house are people on the spiritual level that are very protected. These people have to go through these things that they've been through because they have a higher calling on their lives. And so in order to stand in that higher calling later on in their lives, they have to overcome, they have to die, death, rebirth, transformation, life, death, rebirth, transformation over and over again. And so they're experiencing all these different things. And so in self-healing yourself, remind yourself how resilient you are. Remind yourself how protected you have been thus far. Yeah, because you are protected from a higher realm. Some other ways that Chiron in the eighth or Chiron in Scorpio can heal themselves is to embrace your gifts. Don't be afraid of your gifts, your psychic intuition, your ability to speak to the other side. Now, your ability to speak to the other side can become overwhelming because once the other side knows that, oh, someone can hear us, someone can see us, they start knocking. Right? And so one thing you need to know is that listen to your intuition as to which knock you answer, because you have a right to say, give the assignment to someone else. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. I don't want this one. You'll know when it's your assignment, when you're supposed to listen and when you're supposed to see what's coming from the other side and messages that you are supposed to relay to loved ones on this side, right? So that's another way you can do it. So tapping into your gifts and trusting your gifts, not thinking that you're crazy, not being afraid, not living in fear, not thinking worst case scenario. You have a gift. And it is a real gift. And so embracing that gift, but also knowing that you have a right to say no or accept that gift at any time that you want to. So another way that Chiron in the eighth can heal themselves is embracing change. Embracing change. You have to master transformation. You have to master it. Embrace it. Love it. When it's time to change, embrace it. Fall into that fire and allow it all to burn down and come back up like the phoenix. Yeah. Don't hold on. Just let it go. Let it go. It's time for change. And your body will tell you when it's time to change, when it's time to rebirth yourself. It's actually a beautiful placement. How people stay the same. They are the same person their entire lives, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They're the same person. But Chiron in the eighth or Chiron in Scorpio is forever changing. It's a beautiful placement. It's a difficult placement, but it's a beautiful placement. So doing shadow work is important for Chiron in the eighth or Scorpio. It's actually shadow work is an eighth house placement. Remember, the eighth house rules the occult. Yeah. Shadow work is digging into your deepest, darkest corners and working on healing those things, the things that you've repressed. Yes, because the eighth house is that deepness. You know, the 12th house is the subconscious, but the eighth house kind of has the darkness. Your shadow is there. As well. It's there pretty strongly. And so you might have repressed sexual energy. You don't let yourself open up during sexual activity. You find that right person and then it's over. You're open. It's over. Yeah. But finding that right person is quite a task. Yeah. And so working with your repressed sexual energy, how can you do this? Allowing yourself, you know what, how you can do this. Working with your repressed sexual energy is dress sexy. Yeah. Stop wearing underwear. And free yourself up. Get to know your genitals because Scorpio rules the reproductive system, the sexual organs. And so embrace your sexual organs. You know, get a mirror. If you're a woman, get a mirror. Look at it. It's beautiful. Get you a cast. They have these casts. Excuse my language, but they're called they're vagina casts. Let's call it that. And so it's like a cast that you can get an imprint of your vagina. They have a wall of vaginas with these casts of every woman's different vagina. get one and make one of your own and place it somewhere where you can see it in your private space, and remind yourself how beautiful you are. Every part of you is beautiful. Embrace your sexuality. Embrace your manhood or your womanhood. Embrace it. So this placement can also, for a man, it can be like a form of impotency. Like they just don't have the energy to pull out that sexual energy. And so there's all types of things that can help you today. So one way you can heal yourself with that area is there's all types of things in the medical field these days that can assist a man and making him, get not suffering from that. And for women, it's equivalent to impotency in a woman, but it's the fact that she may be very, very, very tight. Yeah. And so the right size man, it's a perfect combination, but someone who's built more stout may be painful to her or something of that sort. So finding the right lover is important for people with Chiron in the 8th, and how you can heal yourself is that once you find the right lover, bonding with that person, yeah, and being intimate with that person. And so it sounds like a horrible placement, but it's not the end of the world. It actually, once you embrace it, once you embrace your sexuality, it can be a very beautiful placement. Yes. People with this placement, another way that they can heal themselves is embracing sexuality through other things, such as tantric yoga or something called shibari. If you're interested in tantric yoga or shibari, I have videos in my earlier videos that I've made on both of those topics. So intimacy can be a beautiful thing with this placement, but like Scorpio, our circle is small. We don't let everybody in. We don't let everybody into our intimate space, and so Chiron in the 8th can be very picky about who they allow to be intimate with them. Yes. So another thing that one can do to heal themselves with this placement is embracing your gifts, because this placement has powerful gifts such as remote viewing. Yeah. Remote viewing is like you're seeing things from a distance. You're seeing things happen in another state or in another country or in another world. You have the ability to remote view. And so, but because it's in the 8th house, remember that Scorpio is life, death, rebirth, and transformation. So you may remote view to crime scenes. So a lot of times people who have transition to the other side and no one has been there to they were murdered or something and the crime has not been solved, they will come knocking because they know that you can see, you can hear, and you will be able to remote view to the crime scene. You can see what happened. Okay, you can see all the details, what weapon was used, what happened, and it can be absolutely terrifying. But I have this placement and I have actually helped solve a few crimes. Now, it's also scary because how do you know so much? The only person that should know the details of that crime scene were the people that were involved. And so you're putting yourself, it's kind of scary because then you can be a suspect in some way, because how do you know so many details? But when you have this placement, you can see the details. It's wild, y'all. It is wild. You can remote view the crime scenes. So another thing is that embracing your psychic gifts. Yeah. So basically embracing yourself, loving yourself, removing the shame, removing the guilt. And this is all a process. It takes time. Yeah. And let me reassure you that you can have the most beautiful, intimate life with this placement. Yeah. But it requires work. It does require continuous transformation, continuous self-love, continuous just loving you and embracing your gifts. Don't be afraid. Embrace death. Embrace death in a literal and a metaphorical way. Embrace death because it's all transformation. Yeah. No one never really dies. As a matter of fact, on the other side is the most beautiful place in the world. I've died metaphorically millions of times. But I've also spoken to people. I have actual friends who have transitioned to the other side. And one day I may interview one of them on my channel, but he has transitioned to the other side, and they say how peaceful it is, how beautiful it is. And they can see everybody running around crying and, oh my God, they're gone, they're gone. And he's like, he or she's on the other side thinking, I just want to hug them and support them. The person that's transitions feeling bad for the people that are here in the 3D realm because they are so at peace, and they're like, what's all the fuss about? What is all the fuss about? Yeah. This is a heavy placement, so let me light a little sage. So, there you go, beloved. Trust me, if you have this placement, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. As a matter of fact, you are a very powerful being. Yeah. And I mean that in the most humble way possible. I'm just saying that if you survive this placement, that you're pretty, you got it going on. If you survive this placement, it's not an easy placement. So let's talk about how Scorpio in the 8th house, Chiron in the 8th house or in Scorpio can assist others. We've chatted about how ways that they can heal themselves. Yes. But let's chat about how they can heal others. Yeah. So because the 8th house rules the occult, right? Life, death, rebirth, and transformation. Let's talk about some 3D jobs. So they can certainly work with, once they've healed themselves and they no longer fear death, they can open their own funeral home. They can work in graveyards. They can work in doing any of those things when it comes to preparing the body for the funeral, for the family, making sure that the body is beautiful. Because when people see their loved ones in a casket, that memory sticks with them forever. And so you can be the person that makes that a beautiful memory and not a memory like, oh my God, right? You can be a death doula. You can assist people along their journey as they are transitioning, because you have become, you've healed yourself so much that death no longer fears you. You're no longer fearful of death. And so many people are fearful of death. So you can hold space for people who are transitioning. Yeah. You can be a death midwife, which is someone who assists the family in getting the funeral arrangements together, getting the life insurance in order, helping them pick out the casket, helping them, assisting them, because these people are in the midst of grieving, and they don't have the capacity to do it, or they just need some assistance. So you fill the gaps. Yeah. They may be so focused on getting things together so that they don't have to feel the fact that their loved one has transitioned, but you can be there to say, hey, here's a list. Make sure you check all these blocks and then you're good to go. Yeah. They can be bereavement counselors, where when someone loses someone, even if it's a miscarriage, or someone loses someone loses a loved one, they have a stillbirth or something like that, then the bereavement nurse or bereavement counselor can be there to walk them through the grieving process of losing their loved one. Yeah. They can do something like assist people when their pets pass away. Yeah, because people look at especially with their strong Scorpio, we love our animals. Yeah. And so people can help people who can be there for people who have lost their pet, have a pet cemetery. I know it sounds dark, but all of these things are needed. The astrological wheel is 12 signs. We fill every space. This is the space where Chiron in Scorpio or Chiron in the 8th house can fill. So being a bereavement nurse, they can assist with crime scenes, and they can do remote viewing if they would like to do that. Remote viewers are rare, but the government has used remote viewers. I mean, in the White House, they have used remote viewers to view what the enemy is doing. Yeah, because we can see. Like when we put our mind to it, we can see. Or if it comes to us, we can open up and see stuff that's happening in different areas. Remote viewing. They can do stuff like tarot, because remember the 8th house rules the occult. They can do stuff like tarot, and healing other people. They can do stuff like astrology, helping assist people through their astrological chart and getting them on their journey. They can do, and that astrology consists of mundane astrology, which is everyday astrology, the government, what's going on in other countries, blah, blah, blah. And then they can do progressive astrology, which basically the planets are constantly moving, like they never stop. They're constantly moving. And so they can do progressive readings. They can do natal chart readings. So they can do predictive readings. And so these people can really assist others on their journey by giving them a heads up about what's going on in life, what's going on as above, so below. Yeah. They can be birth doulas, because remember, it's life, death, rebirth, and transformation. So they can be birth doulas, assisting people and bringing people into the world. And they can be midwives, assisting the birth doula is the one that helps them throughout their pregnancy and is an advocate for the mother. If she has to go to the hospital, she's the advocate for the mother to give birth at home. The midwife is someone who actually catches the baby and actually delivers the child, yes. They can be any type of holistic healer, opening metaphysics shops, working with crystal magic, working with the earth, any type of healer, holistic healer. These people, once they heal themselves, they can be that. They can be shamans. This is the placement of a shaman, someone who has life, death, rebirth within themselves. And so they've been in the upper worlds, the middle worlds, and the lower worlds. They can travel these places, yes. They can be a medicine man or a medicine woman. Yeah. And so they can do stuff like counseling, social work, which is the urban shaman. Yeah. So this is a powerful placement. It's one of the toughest placements for Chiron. But these people, once they get through all of their own trauma and they heal themselves, they are some of the most beautiful healers in the chart. Yeah. So that's all I have for you for Chiron in the 8th or Chiron in Scorpio. Let's see what the animal spirits have to say about this placement. This should be interesting. It's been pretty on point up thus far, but let's see what it says about this placement, because it would be a pretty interesting. It's interesting to see what it's going to say. Yeah, I'm interested to see what it's going to say. So, hey, Spirit, could you give me a card on Chiron in the 8th or Chiron in Scorpio? What do the animal spirits have to say about this placement? Just one card, Spirit. Ooh, y'all. I lie to you not. You see it with your own eyes. The vulture spirit. Oh my God. And we know that vultures play a very important role in keeping the earth clean by cleaning up what? Death. Yeah. And so I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. You saw it. Yeah. Vulture spirit. Nothing is wasted. I love that for Scorpio, Chiron and Scorpio, or Chiron in the 8th. Nothing is wasted. 63, which adds up to 9. Yes. And so 9, what is 9? 9 is endings. Yeah, it's endings. And so it goes into 10, which is new beginnings. So let's look up vulture spirit. I swear I can't make this up. 63. Spirit is so funny to me. Okay, let's see what it has to say about vulture spirit. Nothing is wasted. Oracle message. What seems hideous has its own beauty, and the recycling and repurposing the vulture does. And this, okay, let me start over. What seems hideous has its own beauty, and the recycling and repurposing the vulture does is as important as any other activity in nature that supports the cycle of life. Life, death, rebirth, and transformation. Vulture spirit message is that nothing is to be wasted, for nature sees value in everything that exists. What seems rotten and ugly has the potential to be transmuted into something beneficial, and you are reminded that any suffering you have experienced has not gone to waste. Wisdom and understanding that arose from the experience are talismans that will serve you on your journey wherever you go. What is decaying is only changing from and will fertilize seeds to which to plant, turning turning that which is passed away into the substance that will support new growth. All that you might wish or deny or discard has value and can be repurposed and reintegrated into a new you that you are becoming and a new life that you are dreaming into being. No pain was in vain and no experience was wasted, for you have the power to use it to go co-create something far better. This is the miracle in your partnership with Spirit. The protective message is, do you wish you could run away from your past and deny your mistakes? Not so fast, says Vulture Spirit. You have gained something valuable from the experience. Let your grief or anger move through you, and soon your emotions will transform, for you will come to see that you have learned and grown. The alchemy of transformation is a gift from Spirit. So never disown that what embarrassed, disappointed, or shamed you. It will soon be a source of great wisdom and strength as you work with the magic that allows miracles to be created out of sadness and beauty to arise from ugliness. Vulture Spirit wants you to know that you embody beauty, and the alchemy transformation of the past is happening already. Hang in there. You are so loved, and so much beauty is awaiting to come out of all of this. Wow. I can't make it up, y'all. Vulture Spirit. Chiron in the 8th house, or Chiron in Scorpio, is the alchemist. You take their pain and the ugliness of life and transform it into something powerful and beautiful. That's all I have for you today here on Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Hit the bell notification so that you know when I upload. We're going places. We'll chat with you later. Y'all have a good day.